transform your life with one powerful shift that ensures you die with peace and joy. I almost died. Not in a metaphorical sense. I mean, I literally flatlined for 43 seconds. But what shook me wasn't the blinding white light or some tunnel of peace. No. It was the terrifying emptiness I felt in those final heartbeats. Like I had sprinted through life, chasing shadows. You'd think I was a reckless daredevil or someone with a death wish, but I was just like you. I followed the rules. I succeeded. I hustled. I achieved. Yet there I was, breathless, soul adrift, whispering to the void, was this really it? And then, something happened. Just when I thought the curtain had closed, I found myself standing in a place unlike anything I've ever seen. A massive, ancient tree towered before me. Its bark shimmered with glowing glyphs, and its branches stretched endlessly into a sky that pulsed with colors no human eye should be able to see. I wasn't alone. An old figure emerged from the tree's roots, cloaked in light and shadow, with eyes that held the entire sorrow and joy of the universe, and he said one sentence. Just one. The shift you refuse to make in life is the peace you beg for in death. That sentence shattered me. And it rebuilt me. If you're watching this, it means something inside you is stirring. Something deeper than the surface level desires. Something ancient and real. You've felt it in quiet moments. Those sudden waves of sadness for no reason. Or that voice that whispers at midnight. Is this really who I am? You're not broken. You're being summoned. This video isn't about motivation. It's not another quick fix. This is a sacred transmission for those who are truly ready. Because there is one shift. One powerful inner pivot. That changes everything. And if you stay with me to the end, not only will you learn what it is, you will feel it inside you, reshaping the entire fabric of your being. But first, you need to walk with me through the underworld of your own soul. Let me take you back. Years before my near-death experience, I was working 18-hour days, traveling the world, building companies, making money, gaining followers, being admired, and yet, I couldn't look at myself in the mirror without seeing a stranger. Have you ever achieved something and felt nothing? That's the great lie they don't tell you. That you can win at the game of life and still feel like a loser. One night, I was in Tokyo. I had just landed a 7-figure deal. I should have been on top of the world. Instead, I found myself weeping alone in a hotel bathroom. The city lights glowing behind frosted glass like a distant galaxy. I couldn't feel my own heart anymore. My soul was numb. In that silence, a sentence broke through my mind like thunder. You have everything, except yourself. I couldn't run from that. And neither can you. Because no matter how fast we chase success, if we've abandoned who we are, we will die as strangers to our own soul. That was the beginning. The moment I started listening. Not to the world. Not to gurus. But to something much older inside me. I started meeting strange people. Mystics. Outcasts. One of them was a woman named Elia in Morocco. She didn't own a phone. Lived in a cave. And yet she could look into your eyes and recite the very thoughts you were ashamed to admit. She told me this. You came to Earth not to accumulate, but to remember. I asked her, remember what? She just smiled. Everything. Now I know that sounds cryptic, and you might think, cool story bro. But how does this help me? And I get it. We're conditioned to seek results. Tactics. 5 steps to peace. 3 hacks for joy. But what if peace isn't something you get, but something you uncover? What if there's nothing wrong with you at all? What if you're just living someone else's version of life? Think about this for a second. Whose life are you living? Whose voice are you trying to please? Parents? Teachers? Influencers? Societies? Where are you in all this? Elijah gave me a journal and told me to ask one question every morning for 30 days. What would I do today if I were already whole? That's the question that started peeling away my layers. I cancelled a massive business project. I moved to a remote island. I stopped pretending. I let friendships die that were built on performance. And I started speaking the truth, even when it cost me. I started to feel alive again. But just when I thought I was healing, life threw me into the abyss. I lost someone I loved deeply, not to death, but to betrayal. I was devastated, and one night, I wandered into a forest near my island house, crying, screaming, asking God or the universe or anything, why do we suffer like this if all we're meant to do is love? And that's when I saw it. No drugs, no hallucination, just something real. A glowing figure appeared, not a person, not an angel, but something in between. It wasn't there to comfort me. It didn't give me answers. Instead, it whispered, "You suffer because you resist who you are." And then it disappeared. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the stars and asked the question you might be asking right now. What if I've spent my entire life trying to become someone, instead of remembering who I already am? This is the moment the shift begins. This is where we peel back everything society told you to be. This is where we confront the false self, the persona you've built to survive, to succeed, to be accepted. But I'll warn you. Once you see the truth, you can never unsee it. You will no longer be able to betray yourself without pain. You will no longer be able to smile when your soul is screaming. You will no longer be able to tolerate a life that doesn't feel like home. So I ask you, are you ready? Are you willing to lose the life that's killing you slowly, in order to be reborn into a life that sets your soul on fire? Because that's what we're about to do. We're not here to change your life. We're here to transform it. And the shift begins now. The hidden doorway in your soul that you've been afraid to open until now. I remember the exact moment the shift fully began. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't even loud. It was a whisper. I had returned from the forest, from that night of supernatural encounter, and everything inside me felt hollowed out, like someone had scooped the false layers out of my chest with invisible hands. And that's when I realized, the shift isn't an addition, it's a removal. Everything I thought I was, the achiever, the hustler, the charming friend, the obedient son, none of it was me. And maybe you're starting to feel that, too. That quiet tug in your chest every time you agree to something that doesn't align. That fatigue you feel even when you're winning. That gnawing suspicion that the path you're on doesn't lead to your soul. This is the sacred unraveling. You don't find peace and joy by adding more to your life. You find it by removing everything that isn't truly yours. I isolated myself for 40 days after that night in the woods. I fasted, not just from food, but from screens, noise, stimulation, validation. And somewhere around the third week, I broke. I lay on the floor in my small wooden house, sobbing uncontrollably, not from sadness, but from a grief I never knew I carried. It was the grief of abandoning myself. And for the first time in my life, I asked myself a question I want you to ask right now. When did I stop being me? Was it when you got rejected for being too sensitive, too intense, Too creative? Too wild? Was it when you realized being fully yourself made others uncomfortable? Was it when you learned to shrink so others could feel big? I asked this, and suddenly memories surged. I saw 5-year-old me dancing wildly to music, just free. I saw teenage me trying to fit into a mold he hated. I saw adult me building empires on a cracked foundation. And then, silence. That's when it happened. The dream. The vision. The doorway. It was the third night without sleep. I was meditating, half conscious, and in that liminal state between waking and dreaming. I saw a vast hallway inside my chest. At the end of it, a door. I walked toward it. The closer I got, the louder the sound of a heartbeat became. Not mine, but something ancient, something cosmic. I opened the door. And there he was. A version of me I had forgotten. He was glowing, serene. He didn't speak. He just looked at me. And in that look, everything collapsed. In that look, I saw who I could have been all along. And I wept like a child in the arms of myself. When I awoke, something had changed permanently. There was no fanfare, no fireworks, just clarity. You see, the shift isn't about becoming more. It's about finally coming home to yourself. But here's the twist: once you come home to who you truly are, the entire world starts to respond to you differently. People feel your truth even before you speak. Opportunities begin aligning with your soul instead of your ego. You don't have to try to be joyful. You are joy. Because you're no longer chasing. You're radiating. And then, just when I thought the shift had reached its peak, something happened that left me speechless. I received a letter. Delivered by hand. No name. No return address. Just an ancient-looking envelope sealed with wax. Inside, a single parchment. Burned at the edges. Ink faded with age. It said, "When the false self dies, you will meet the elders." I laughed out loud. I thought someone was pranking me. Until midnight that night. I heard knocking, not on my door, on my soul. I fell into a sudden trance, collapsed into sleep, and dreamed again. Only this time, I wasn't alone. I was in a circle of light. Around me stood 12 figures. Some dressed in robes, others in tribal markings. One in a suit, one cloaked in fire. Their eyes shone like stars but also bled tears of compassion. They spoke in unison, but not with words. They showed me visions. Visions of humanity. Of people running on treadmills that go nowhere. Children crying because their parents are emotionally absent. Old men dying with regrets tattooed across their final breaths. And then they looked at me. Not to judge, but to pass something down. One of them reached out and placed his hand on my chest. I felt it. I swear on everything. I felt it. He whispered, "Your job is not to teach. Your job is to remember. And in your remembering, others will remember too." And I woke up screaming. Not in fear. In awe. My body was vibrating. The room smelled like incense, though I had none. My skin was marked with faint symbols that faded by morning. From that day forward, my life was never the same. Strangers began opening up to me at grocery stores. Children stared at me like they recognized me. Animals approached without fear. And deep down, I could finally sit in stillness without needing to escape it. That is peace. And with it, joy. But not the kind of joy you get from dopamine hits or likes or promotions. No, this joy is different. This joy is your birthright. This joy cannot be stolen by circumstances. This joy lives in your bones. So, how do you experience this shift? Here's what I'll say. First, stop running. Silence the noise. Feel the grief of your own abandonment. Grieve who you could have been. Then, forgive yourself. You were only trying to survive. You built walls when the world felt unsafe. But now it's time to come home. Then, go inward. Ask your heart, what would it feel like if I trusted myself fully? Let that answer guide you. Every day. This isn't a one-time thing. The shift is a process. A burning. A shedding. You will lose people. You will lose illusions. You will lose comfort. But what you gain is priceless. Yourself. And when you die, and you will not tremble in fear. You will not whisper regrets to the wind. You will smile. Because you will know, I lived as me. And that, my friend, is what peace looks like. That is what joy feels like. And we are just getting started. Because the most powerful part is still to come. The final revelation that guarantees you will die with a smile on your face and fire in your soul. So there I was. Transformed. Rewired. I had returned to society after months in isolation. Glowing from the inside out. You'd think the story ends here. With peace, joy, and alignment. But that's not how the shift works. Because the final test always comes at the height of your awakening. Not to break you, but to prove that you've truly changed. And mine came fast. I was invited to speak at a major global summit. One of those massive spiritual expos where gurus and influencers gather like peacocks to show off their feathers. I hesitated. But something in me said, go. But go as your truest self. Nothing less. I showed up barefoot. Wore simple linen. No slides. No speeches. No sales pitch. Just truth. When I took the stage, thousands of faces stared back. I took a deep breath. I looked them in the eyes and said, you don't need another guru. You need your soul back. Dead silence. Then a ripple of whispers. Then, thunderous applause. But as I left the stage, a man approached me backstage. Elderly. Dressed in black. Eyes that didn't blink. He handed me a note and said, they're waiting. The note had coordinates. In the Himalayas. My soul knew before my mind did, this was the final door. 3 weeks later, I was high in the mountains. No Wi-Fi. No phone. Just stars. Snow. Silence. At the highest ridge, there was a temple not marked on any map. Made of stone and time. Inside, 7 monks. They didn't speak English. Didn't need to. One of them held out a bowl. I drank from it. And everything faded. I dropped into a space beyond time. No body. No identity. Just awareness. And then I saw. Not with eyes. But with spirit. I saw my entire life from a higher realm. Every lie I believed. Every person I hurt. Every truth I swallowed. Every dream I buried. And then, I saw the lives of others. The people I had touched since I began my shift. People who were once on the brink of ending it all. Now dancing. Living. Being. And the elders spoke. Not with sound. But with knowing. This is what joy looks like. It is not the absence of pain. It is the presence of purpose. I returned to my body with tears streaming down my face. And I understood. I finally understood what the shift truly is. It is the moment when you stop living for survival and start living for truth. It is the moment when you stop asking, "What do I want from life?" and start asking, "What does life want from me?" It is the death of the performer, the pleaser, the protector. And it is the birth of the soul. When I came back down the mountain, the world hadn't changed. But I had. And because of that, everything changed. People ask me now, "Aren't you afraid of dying?" And I tell them, not even a little. Because when you've made the shift, death isn't a threat, it's a return. You don't fear running out of time, because you live fully in every moment. You don't cling to titles, possessions, praise, because you know the only thing you take with you is who you've become. And that's what I want for you. To live a life that ends in peace, not panic. To die with your eyes open, smiling, not with regret, gasping for meaning. So let me give you the final secret, the one I've never shared on any stage or video until now. It's not about adding anything to your life. Not goals, not habits, not achievements. It's about subtraction. Removing the noise, removing the false identities, removing the masks. Until what's left is you. Naked, radiant, unshakable. That's the shift. And once you've tasted it, you'll never settle for anything less. Because the joy you feel isn't based on things going your way. It's based on the truth that you are finally going your way. You are no longer being lived by fear, expectation, or past wounds. You are living from essence. And it's magnetic. Suddenly, you'll see synchronicities everywhere, signs, symbols, strange meetings that feel orchestrated by some divine rhythm. People will say, "You've changed." And you'll smile and say, "I've returned." And when the day comes, because it will, when your breath slows, your body softens, your heart begins its final rhythm, you will not panic. You will feel the arms of life wrapping around you like a long-lost friend. You will hear the whispers of your ancestors cheering. You will smile, not because life was perfect, but because you lived it in truth. And that truth will carry you home. So now I ask you, are you ready? Are you ready to stop performing and start being? Are you ready to trade shallow pleasure for deep peace? Are you ready to release the illusion and reclaim your divine identity? Because no one can shift for you. I can only point the way. But once you take that step, once you walk through that hidden doorway in your soul, your life will never be the same. You will laugh more, cry deeper, love harder, speak clearer, walk freer. And when your time comes, you will die not as a name, not as a title, not as a body, but as a soul fully expressed. And the world will feel your absence like the sun setting on a golden day. Because you lived. Because you remembered. Because you made the one powerful shift that ensures you die with peace and joy. Now go. Go remember who you are. And let that remembrance set the world on fire. If this awakens something in your soul, don't let it go. Comment with the word remember and tell me what you're letting go of today. Share this with someone who's ready to come home to themselves. And most importantly, ask yourself every day, am I living in truth? Or just surviving in silence? See you on the other side.